Hello, everyone, and welcome to Knockout Sports Talk. I am your host, Annabelle. Today, we have the honor of having Mark the Shark Irwin with us, joining us virtually all the way from Huntington Beach, California. Thank you for joining us, Mark.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Do you want me to call you Mark or the Shark?
You can call me Mark, the Shark, the Champ. You can call me whatever you like, my dear.
I love it. Okay, so just to give a few statistics on your amazing career as a boxer, you started off your career gloves on as a boxer.
Yeah, I started as an amateur with USA Boxing. I won the California State Championship 2 years in a row.
Twice.
In 2017, I was the 141-pound champion. In 2018, I was the 152-pound champion. After that, I spent about a year officiating at the amateur level with USA Boxing, and I did 20 shows as a judge and referee for USA Boxing in 2019. When the pandemic started in 2020, all of the events in the United States basically shut down, but there were fights going on professionally in Mexico, so we started boxing in Tijuana. I went 2-0 with one knockout as a professional boxer in Tijuana before having the opportunity to box bare knuckle with BKFC. I made my debut with BKFC in 2021 on October 23rd, and I won by knockout. And shortly thereafter, I got a good deal with the BYB to come over and fight for them, and it was a great decision. They've really given me the rock star treatment, and I just won the Knockout of the Night award for BYB at BYB X on May 28th.
Right, just a few months ago.
Yeah.
That's amazing. And I remember what you said. You said, I'm coming back in August to do another knockout. Well, that was amazing. You knocked your opponent out in the first round. I do want to ask you, how did that feel?
Oh, I mean, there's nothing like it. You know, winning a fight by knockout on television in an arena full of people screaming bloody murder, it feels like catching lightning in a bottle. It's hard to explain, but there's nothing quite like it.
Did you doubt yourself for once?
No, never.
I see that. I see that total confidence in you. And that's another question I want to ask you. Why the Shark? Why? How did you get that nickname?
My dad used to call me that when I was a kid. You know, I've lived in all the beach cities in California, from La Jolla to San Francisco and everything in between. You know, currently I'm living in Huntington Beach, Surf City, USA. And the number one apex predator of any surf town is a shark. So there you go.
There you go. Is it the great white?
Absolutely.
Oh, that's
Megalodon.
Awesome. El como?
Megalodon.
Megalodon. And I said, how in Spanish, because I didn't know what you were saying. Now, is that really real?
The megalodon is an ancient shark that was many times larger than a great white. They would actually eat great white sharks, but are no longer in existence. They are extinct.
Yeah, that's pretty badass. Okay, so going back to your last fight with BYB Extreme Bare Knuckle. So you said you were coming back in August, but something recently happened and you were injured and you were going to have surgery actually yesterday, but it got postponed. Do you want to share with us a little bit about that?
Yeah, you know, I just need to do a little bit more rehab on my knee before I'm ready for surgery. So it's been postponed another 3 weeks, which, you know, is obviously disappointing, but long term, you know, it's the best case scenario for my professional career. So we'll take another 3 weeks to rehab the knee. We'll get the surgery done, and then we should be back at the beginning of next year to, you know, do what we do and knock people out on TV for money.
That's awesome. But I saw you're still training. I saw you lifting weights today on Instagram. So you're still training. What are some of the things that you have to kind of be cautious about during this rehab, pre-surgery, post-surgery time?
Yeah, you know, I'm always in the gym. I'm always doing what I can do. So, you know, I'll lift weights. I'll do my rehab exercises as well as my PT and things like that. So it's hard to keep me out of the gym, but obviously you got to be careful I'm limited in a lot of the things that I can do until I get the surgery. But just staying focused and staying, busy by doing everything that I can do at the current time.
Absolutely. So you can't do cardio, maybe?
Yeah, it's tough. I really can't run or do lower body weight lifting or anything like that until I get the surgery. So we're getting ACL tendon repair. Yeah, so another 3 weeks, the surgery will be done. Then we'll get into rehab, and then soon thereafter, we should be able to start to resume normal activities.
Oh, that sounds awesome. And you know what? Time flies, so you're good.
Appreciate you.
Absolutely. So you switched organizations, as you mentioned earlier. You fought with Bare Knuckle FC, and you switched over to BYB. Care to tell us why that shift?
We just had a couple fights that fell through, and BYB stepped in and had a great offer that we couldn't refuse. And like I said, it was the best decision I ever made. They've treated me like a rock star from start to finish, and really made me feel like family in that organization. So I'm excited to be with them. I'm excited that I signed a new long-term deal, and I was really looking forward to fighting at Trump National in a couple weeks. But I'll rest up, heal up, and be ready to go beginning of next year. And I can't wait to get back in the Trigon and get another first-round finish.
Absolutely. And are you going to come down anyway to root on any of your friends?
You know what? I was hoping that it would work out that way, but unfortunately, with my surgery being pushed back, I'm not going to be able to attend the event.
Yeah, right. Because you're still, yeah, of course. So you mentioned earlier, and I also highlighted on that you were a professional boxer gloves on in the beginning. How long did you do that for?
I made my professional boxing debut in Tijuana, Mexico on September 27th of 2020 at the height of the pandemic. It was actually a drive-in show. The ring was constructed in the middle of a parking lot of a baseball stadium in Tijuana, and people drove their cars up to the ring and then sat on top of their cars and watched the fights from there. So it was a drive-in boxing show.
Okay, that is pretty cool. I didn't even know that existed.
Yeah, well, it doesn't. You know what I mean? It was a pivot in the height of the pandemic because they had to have things socially distanced. They said, okay, we'll put the fight outside and we'll have people watch it from their cars. So that was my professional boxing debut. I fought again in Tijuana in March of 2022, and I fought at the Big Punch Arena. So I had 2 fights in about 6 months, and then the opportunity with Bare Knuckle FC came up. So my professional boxing career was short-lived, and now we are, dead set on winning a Bare Knuckle Boxing World Championship, and I really feel like I found my sport.
Wow, more than boxing. That must have been so strange for you, I guess, to fight without gloves for the first time. Or did you enjoy it a lot more? You're like, okay, now this feels like what I want to do.
It's definitely a learning experience. There's no way to prepare for fighting without gloves. It's just you can't do it. So the only way to learn is on the job. But it's definitely different. It's definitely a lot more intense, fast-paced, and exciting. You can't make any mistakes, so you have to be on your A game. But yeah, there's nothing quite like a bare knuckle boxing event, whether it's, fighting in one, seeing them ringside live. They're absolute madness, and nothing in combat sports quite compares to it.
I'm sure. I am so excited to see my first live bare knuckle brawl on August 27th.
Yeah, it's going to be quite a show. The main difference, I always tell people, I'm always blown away by the sound. The sound of the punches is its own unique thing. When you take the gloves off, it's pretty crazy and wild, but it's unique to the sport for sure.
Okay, I'm gonna have to watch out for that. That's pretty cool. Yeah, I've only seen boxing matches, so not bare knuckle. So I'm super, super excited. It's funny. I was talking to Dada the other day that I was in the official Mighty Trigon. I was at the gym here in Miami, and I was asking him all sorts of questions like, how does a bare knuckle boxer prepare? And you just said it. There's no way to kind of practice with someone, right? It's like the day of the fight is when you're all in. So how do you feel prepared? What are some of the things you have to do to feel prepared?
Well, one of the main differences that I made when I started training for my professional bare knuckle boxing debut, as opposed to my professional boxing or amateur boxing career, was that I actually stopped sparring against boxers for the most part and began training primarily with mixed martial artists. The reason being twofold. One, that most bare knuckle boxers are mixed martial artists coming over from MMA. And the way that MMA fighters box and throw their strikes is different than the way that a professional boxer would put their punches together. And then also the rule set being a little bit different, allowing for more clinch work and things like that, being a little bit more grappling heavy, as opposed to traditional boxing. Being able to train with and against people who are more well versed in Muay Thai clinch and things like that, and aspects of wrestling and jiu-jitsu, helps add some wrinkles to my game so that I'm better prepared to fight inside those clinches in the Trigon.
Right. And I did see you posted a post, like a throwback, or that you were, so some of your background is in jiu-jitsu.
Well, I worked for many years at UFC gym and many other gyms in the area. So I've definitely done some cross training with Muay Thai and jiu-jitsu over the years, and I've definitely increased the amount of Muay Thai and jiu-jitsu training that I do in corporation with everything else, with all the boxing training as well as strength and conditioning and all the road work. But yeah, that's definitely a small part of my mixed martial arts background as well.
I love that. And how long does it take you to prep for a fight? Like, you start at a certain weight and you start cutting, or you like to stay the same weight all year round?
At the beginning of training camp, I'm definitely a lot heavier. I usually walk around between 155 and 160 pounds. And yes, over the course of a 8-week training camp, we'll usually look to take off about 2 pounds a week. And then that gets me on track to be right around weight for fight night. So usually I don't have to cut very much on the day of the weigh-ins, anywhere from maybe 1 to 3 pounds at the most, typically.
Okay, perfect. So you take about, if I could do the math, like 6, no, not 6 months, like 3 months, maybe?
Like usually training camp is anywhere from 8 to 12 weeks. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Just like a bodybuilder, because I do that. So
yeah,
same thing. So yeah, I cut down about 2 pounds, a week for like.
We're on the same program.
Yeah, exactly. Well, yours is a lot harder. I just get to look pretty on stage in my heels. No.
Yeah, well, you do it well, my dear.
Oh, thank you. The prep is definitely hard. Now, are you on a certain type of nutrition? Does obviously to cut weight, but I mean, what type of nutrition are you usually on? I'm always interested in knowing stuff like that.
Yeah, I'm my own personal nutritionist, so I make all those decisions myself. Typically, I eat primarily meat, fruits, and vegetables. I'll do overnight oats for breakfast in the morning, or maybe an acai bowl. And then a lot of eggs, a lot of red meat, a lot of beef and steak,
And
a lot of avocados. Yeah, I usually do a high protein, high fat, low carb diet. That's all, natural foods.
Really high, obviously high protein, that's extremely important, but high fats, I wonder why, and low carbs.
Low carb,
right. So, but like high in fats, because does that give you like a lot more energy than
yeah, it's more of a ketogenic type diet. Yeah, so I go for like a whole foods ketogenic type of diet, and that seems to work well for me.
Okay, excellent. Yeah, I need carbs for energy. Oh. I could eat rice all day, every day, but
so good.
I know, so good. But I eat a lot of avocados like you do.
My avocados on everything.
Really? Yeah.
Always, yeah.
I know. I always put it on my rice cakes or my white rice. Oh, I know. I can actually. I don't even have to season the avocado. I can literally just cut it in half and eat it.
It's good to go. Yeah, agreed. Same.
Your body wants it. So let's see what else we could discuss. Something I really want to ask you. It's a deep question. Why? Why do you do what you do?
I've loved combat sports my whole life. I grew up watching boxing with my dad as a kid. I became a fan of the UFC and mixed martial arts in high school. And it's the one sport that I really took to right away when I started training. So I've always loved combat sports my whole life. I've always, looked up to and admired fighters. And, so when I took to it, it always kind of came easy to me. I always picked it up quickly, and it's been the one sport that I truly excelled at. So I think it just kind of fell into place. I never really set out with the intention that I was going to be a professional fighter, or, that I wanted to be a world champion. But, the more I do it, the further I went with it, and I ended up kicking this can a lot further down the road than I ever initially intended on. But, since I really committed full time to being a professional fighter, I have been having the absolute time of my life, and there's nothing else that I'd rather do.
That's amazing. And that's something else I was going to ask you. So you are a full-time professional fighter. You do nothing else on the side. You dedicate your whole time to just training and, well, not practicing, but training for the fight, correct?
Yeah, so I work at a gym. I'm a manager and a trainer at a local boxing gym. So I work there in the mornings, and then I'll usually get my first training session of the day in at work. And then I'll rest, eat lunch, and then I'll get my second training session of the day in, and have dinner and call it a day. So, yeah, it's all fighting all the time.
I love it. You're so blessed and so lucky to be able to do that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. So is there a fight that you remember that you say, I wish I would have done that, or I wish I would have done this, and you think about it all the time?
I don't have any regrets when I step in there. I always leave it all in the ring. And if you've ever seen my fights, you can tell by watching that. So, in my whole professional and amateur career, I really don't ever look back on any fights and, regret having done this or not having done that, because I always leave it all in the ring on fight night. And it's because I always put everything into my training for every training camp, so that I know that I am ready to give everything that I have physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and otherwise when that first bell rings.
Your last fight, when I saw like some highlights, you said you were going to knock your opponent out in the first round. And you did.
Yeah, absolutely. I always call my shot. I always like to speak things into existence. It's part of my visualization and manifestation techniques. So I will speak on what I want to happen. I will prepare and train for that to happen. And then I go out there and I execute according to the game plan.
Do you have a favorite fight?
I think I'm getting better with every fight. And I think that the proof is in the pudding. I'm knocking these guys out faster and faster every fight. I've won my last 3 fights in a row by knockout, and I've done each one quicker than the one that preceded it. So I think, I'm definitely proud of my last performance. That's probably my favorite to date. And, my next one will be even better yet. I'd like to say thank you to BYB Extreme Bare Knuckle. It's an honor and a privilege to be with the organization. Thank you to Bobby's Boxing Club, my home gym that I train out of in Laguna Beach, California. Shout out to all my sponsors, A1 Boxing in Huntington Beach, CBD Health Solutions, Space Weights, Boss Cat Kitchen Libations, and any of the other sponsors I forgot. Kessler, the OC Fight Doc, and Massage Matters. Shout out to them. And thank you for having me on the show. It's been a pleasure, and I'd love to come back anytime you'd have me.
Thank you so much. It's been such an honor. Like I said, you are my first athlete, and I am so thrilled.
The honor is all mine. Thank you. Thank you.
Well, this is Mark the Shark Irwin, all the way from Huntington Beach, California. Thank you so much.
I'll catch you soon, my dear.
Thank you. And I'm your host, Annabelle, with Knockout Sports Talk.